All right, first and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach, U'Malak Yahushua, his brother Tazamah.
It's your brother Shemal all.
Right, we want to give a strong shalom to all the mighty men that's going out there laboring, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, doing all they can to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And the men that's going out there, they're enduring the elements, 100-degree weather, freezing below codes, everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High. Shalom, shalom. Want to give another strong shalom to the Akwath, the sisters that are at home. They're reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire for the Most High God in these last days. And last but not least, the children and teenagers, right, in this truth, doing all they can to magnify the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. All right, the topic of this cold cut is titled Live Q&A, Bring All Questions. All right, I believe a couple people asked some questions on a previous video, right? So this is a Q&A. Any questions? You know, you might be new to this truth. You might not know how to keep a feast day. I mean, everything is found up in the Bible, so you want to answer these questions through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Right? If there's not any questions, we're going to go into a lesson through the spirit. Nevertheless, let's go to Sirach 33:27. All right, Sirach 33:27.
Right, let's go to Sirach chapter 33, verse 27. Send him to labor, that he be not idle, for idleness teacheth much evil.
31:27, I believe. All right, Sirach 31:27.
This is the book of Sirach chapter 31, verse 27. Wine is as good as life to a man if it be drunk moderately. What life is then to a man that is without wine? For it was made to make men glad.
It's like, that's not what I wanted. Right, let's go to 1 Peter 3:15, the classic. All right. 1 Peter 3:15.
All right. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear.
Right, so the Lord said, hey, be ready always to give an answer to every man. All right, because people have questions, man. The nations, they be coming in here with questions. All right, didn't Queen Sheba, didn't she go to King Solomon and ask him all the questions? And King Solomon answered it through the Spirit. All right, wasn't it people during the time of Yahushua? Didn't they come up to Yahushua and ask him questions, man? What wisdom, to see what wisdom that he had? So all of the questions that come in, guess what? We answered it via the Lord, man. You have to be ready always. You know, earlier when we wrapped up camp, it was a brother, he came through, and guess what? He had a question. He said, hey, is the Most High, he said, y'all the Israelites? All right, he said, is the Most High doing that over there in LA, the fires? And we kind of had to, you know, we was about to go somewhere else. We had to kind of break it down to him through the spirit and power. So read that part again.
Right, it says, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear.
Right, you have to have the spirit of meekness and fear when you're answering questions, because somebody might be sincere. You might think a question is irrational. What is they talking about? You don't know what this is going into? Hey, the Lord could confound you, man. All because you're not operating in a spirit of meekness and fear when you tackling these things. All right, so I believe we do have a question from Terry Jacobs, Wisdom of Solomon 3:13. What is the visitation of souls? All right, let's go to it. All right, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3:13.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 13. Their offspring is cursed, wherefore blessed is the barren that is undefiled. which have not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in the visitation of souls.
Now, start at verse number 10. Now, this chapter, when you go into Wisdom of Solomon, the third chapter, this is really going into how the Most High is going to chastise his elect, his chosen one in the last days. They're going to be made purified as gold. And when you read on, the Most High is going into the ungodly. All right. So start at verse 10.
Right, verse 10, it says, but the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations,
Right.
which have neglected the righteous and forsaken the Lord.
So all of these ungodly people that forsake the Lord, you know, we out teaching, we teaching online. They rejecting the words of the Lord. They walking past, they scoffing, they stopping their ears. Hey, guess what? The Most High is gonna forsake them, man. The Lord is not dealing with those people because the Lord has his hand stretched out, and those people, they reject the Lord. You know, I'm gonna just be honest. A lot of these people in the world, they don't give a damn about this truth. They don't care about the Most High God. We literally had a Jake say, I said, "Who woke you up this morning?" He said, "Hey, I did. I woke myself up." So these people, they don't care about the Lord. They don't. They literally in their heart, they hate God. So guess what? They're gonna be punished according to their own imaginations. So the things that they're scared of, the things that they fear, and the Most High is going to bring that fear upon them. You have Eve, she's scared of pumpkins. Guess what? The Most High going to torture her with pumpkins. Jake's, you scared of snakes. Hey, the Lord going to have you in a room full of snakes, man. All right? So read on.
Right, verse 11. For whoso despiseth wisdom and nurture, he is miserable, and their hope is vain. Their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable.
Right? Because if you despise wisdom, that's like despising a beautiful, fair woman that's going to feed you and treat you well. Why? Because wisdom is going to nourish you. All right, let's go to that in Proverbs 91. Wisdom, she going to take care of you, man. She going to make sure you straight. Hey, did you eat today? All right. How did you sleep? All right. How are you feeling? So if you despise wisdom, you're miserable. And you see how many miserable people there are in this world. They smoking weed, they drinking, they popping X pills, Xannies, all type of wickedness. Because deep down inside, they might be looking like they having fun, but deep down inside, they miserable. Actually, but we could drop that. Let's go to Proverbs 13 and 14.
See that?
All right.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 14. The law of the wise is a fountain of life,
Right.
to depart from the snares of death.
Go to Proverbs 14 and 13. Slakia.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 13. Even in laughter, the heart is sorrowful, and the end of that mirth is heaviness.
See that? So that's that fake smile people put on. They laughing, but deep down inside, they sorrowful. All right, they miserable. They just don't want other people to see it. So they cover it up with it. They cover up their misery with a smile. So we can go back to that in Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 11. So if you despise wisdom, you're going to be miserable. You're not going to have no righteous fruit. You're not going to prosper. You're going to be on the bottom. Let's go back to that.
Verse 12. Their wives are foolish, and their children wicked.
Right?
Their offspring is cursed. Wherefore, blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which have not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in the visitation of souls.
Now, we're going to read this again. Read verse 13 again.
Right. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 13. Their offspring is cursed. Wherefore, blessed is the barren that is undefiled.
Right? So if you're wicked, your offspring is going to be cursed. The Most High is going to curse your offspring. That's why when you read Hosea 6 and 4, the Lord said, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Since thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee and thy children. So your children is going to be rejected by the Lord, and your offspring, their offspring is going to be cursed. So if you're ungodly, you doing ungodly things, guess what? And you have children. And a lot of the times when people have children, it's of adultery, fornication, all type of wicked things. And guess what? The Most High is going to curse that offseed in that spring. So it says, wherefore blessed is the barren that is undefiled. Because somebody that's barren, they are undefiled. They don't have any children to be cursed. It says, which have not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in the visitation of souls. What is the fruit? That offspring, those children. The visitation of souls is when that child comes back on the earth. Let's go to Isaiah 56 and 5. Right?
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 56, verse 5. Even unto them will I give in my house, and within my walls a place, and a name better than of sons and of daughters.
See that? So, and the Most High gonna give us a place that's better than the names of the sons and the daughters. Read on.
I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off.
Read on.
Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord, to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it.
Right, that's it on that. The point is, the Most High is going to give an everlasting name that's not going to be cut off. So this fruit is talking about the children. You want to make sure you have righteous children in this thing. Now, go to real fast. Go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, and start at verse 1. Right, this whole chapter is good.
Crazy. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 1. Better it is to have no children and to have virtue, for the memorial thereof is immortal.
So God, the Lord said it's better for a man. Now that's not saying don't have any children. Right? We're not pushing a eunuch doctrine on nobody. We're not telling them, yeah, you can't deal with a woman. What the Lord is saying, it's better for you to have no children and you have virtue and strong vitality and vigor. For the memorial of is immortal because it is known with God and with men. Read on.
Verse 2. Because it is known with God, Salakia, verse 1. Because it is known with God and with men. When it is present, men take example at it, and when it is gone, they desire it.
Because that's a very hard thing to do, man. Abstain from sexual intercourse for the rest of your life. Men, a lot of men desire that, but guess what? They just can't do it. So men are going to take hold of that, desire that. Read on.
Right. And weareth a crown and trumpeth forever, having gotten the victory, striving for undefiled rewards.
Read on.
But the multiplying brood of the ungodly shall not thrive, nor take deep rooting from bastard slips,
right?
Nor lay any fast foundation.
Read on.
For though they flourish in branches for a time, yet standing not fast, they shall be shaken with the wind, and through the force of winds, they shall be rooted out.
Right.
The imperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not ripe to eat. Yeah, meat for nothing.
Right, the Most High is going to cast their fruit away. Verse 6 is the point.
Right, verse 6. For children begotten of unlawful beds are witnesses of wickedness against their parents and their trials.
See that? So you don't want to have a child begotten of unlawful beds, meaning any type of fornication, all right, of wickedness. So you had the ability to affect how your offspring is going to be. All right, that's up to you. But that's what that's going into. Lord willing, that answer your question. All right, next question. From Kinfolk, Shalom King, it's Exodus 23:20 through 22, talking about Yahweh Shai. All right, let's go to that Exodus 23 and 20.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 23, verse 20. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared.
Right.
Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he would not pardon your transgressions. For my name is in him. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies and an adversary unto thy adversaries.
Right. And that is going into the Lord, because guess what? The Lord was with. The Lord he's the one of the only ones, except for the Most High, and the Most High grants an angel to pardon and forgive transgressions. Now, Yahweh Shai was actually with the Israelites in the wilderness. All right. That pillar by day and cloud by night. That was protecting them. All right. That was watching over them, making sure they were safe. Hey, Yahweh Shai, he was the rock in the wilderness. Right. Let's go to that in 1 Corinthians chapter 10. I believe on one verse. You can start at 5.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness.
Right.
Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted.
Because a lot of our forefathers, they failed in the wilderness. All right. They was destroyed, killed. Why? Because of lust and their disobedience and lack of faith. Read on.
Neither be idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play.
Right.
Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000.
Read on.
Neither let us tempt Hamashiach, as some of them also tempted.
So some of our forefathers, guess what? They tempted the Lord in the wilderness. Meaning, hey, guess what? The Lord had to be in the wilderness. All right, start at verse number 3.
Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3. And did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink.
Right.
For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. And that rock was a Mashiach.
See that? So it's telling you in the New Testament that guess what? Christ was in the wilderness with the Israelites, man. He was that spiritual rock on a spiritual level, that manner. But yes, he was physically there with them. When you go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter, right, let's go to that. Wisdom of Solomon 18 and 15. And Christ had to come off his throne and slay the firstborn of the Egyptians and destroy them and have it a blood massacre.
All right. It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 15. Thine almighty word leaped down from heaven out of thy royal throne.
Now the word of God is Yahweh Shai, Christ. Read on.
As a fierce man of war into the midst of a land of destruction.
Right.
And brought thy unfeigned commandment as a sharp sword.
See that? So he leaped off his throne, hopped into the land of Egypt, and slew all the firstborn of the Egyptians and destroyed them. Meaning he was in the land of Egypt. All right. Now go to Exodus 34 and 11.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 34, verse 11. Observe thou that which I command thee this day. Behold, I drive out before thee the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Havite and the Jebusite. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest.
Right.
Lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves.
Read on.
For thou shalt worship no other God. For the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God.
Right? So the Most High gave them the commandments, obviously through the hand of Moses, while they were in the why they were in the wilderness. He told them, guess what? Don't have no other gods before me. All right. Don't be following the ways of the Egyptians. Don't be going off and sinning. All right. So a lot, like we just read in First Corinthians, the 10th chapter, a lot of those men had to die because what? They wasn't obedient unto the Lord. Who is that Lord that's going into Yahweh Shai? All right, because the Most High is not getting off his throne, trying to prove something to a mortal man. All right, let's go to Exodus 13 and 20. Right, Exodus chapter 13 and 20.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 13, verse 20. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Edom in the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud.
Right, so the Lord was like a pillar of a cloud. What's that cloud that's going into the chariot? Read on.
To lead them the way. And by night in a pillar of fire.
So at night, he was in a pillar of fire. Read on.
To give them light, to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people.
So the Lord was actually guiding our forefathers while they were in the wilderness, which is deep on another level, showing you, hey, the Lord is always with you, man. Even when you don't think it's him, it's him. All right, so Lord willing, that answer the question. Let's go to the next question. From Stefano Kennedy. Shalom, King. Can you break down Romans 3 and 7? What is Paul's lie? All right, let's go to it. Romans chapter 3 and 7.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 3, verse 7.
Start at verse 1. Well, actually, start at verse 5.
Verse 5. But if our unrighteousness commend the righteous, so I'm going to read that again. But if our unrighteousness commend the righteousness of God, what shall we say?
Right.
Is God unrighteous who taketh vengeance? I speak as a man. God forbid. For then how shall God judge the world? For if the truth of God hath more abound through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner?
So Paul's lie that he was talking about his old life that he used to live. Right? That's his lie that's the lie that he's talking about. Now, start at verse 1 real quick. What Paul is basically going into is, when you read this chapter, start at verse 1.
All right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 3, verse 1. What advantage then hath the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God.
Right? So it is advantage versus the Jews who knew they were Jews, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. All right. And then you have the circumcision, right? Which is basically you have northern kingdom and the southern kingdom split, but you had Jews that didn't know they were Israelites. It's still an advantage because the Jews didn't depart from the laws of the Most High God like the rest of the Israelites did. Read on.
Verse 3. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect?
Right.
God forbid. Yeah, let God be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. But if our unrighteousness commend the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unrighteous who taketh vengeance? I speak as a man.
Right.
God forbid. For then how shall God judge the world? For if the truth of God have more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner?
Read on.
And not rather as we be slanderously reported. And as some affirm that we say, let us do evil, that good may come, whose damnation is just.
Read on.
What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have before proved both Jews and Gentiles that they are all under sin.
So what Paul was basically trying to get the church of Rome to understand, the truth of God abounded more unto glory through his lie. Again, the lie was his old life that he used to live. Because the Apostle Paul had charges brought up against him, man, when he was Saul. He was there at the death of Stephen. He was persecuting the church, doing all type of wickedness. But guess what? The Most High bestowed grace upon him. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 15:10. The Most High bestowed grace upon him that although Saul lived the old life he used to live, he went so hard for the Lord, all right, that it abounded more glory into his life that he's living now. All right. And at the end of the day, yes, it is an advantage for the Jews. But guess what? At the end of the day, we all understand. Because you had Jews, they thinking, hey, my forefathers, they didn't depart from the laws. I'm better than you. Are you circumcised? You not circumcised? All right, we can't even hang out with each other then. All right. That's what was going on back then. But Paul is writing these epistles, such as Romans, the 4th chapter, which is a good chapter as well. Romans, the 2nd chapter, is a good chapter to read about that as well. And he's clearing up the whole thing. Galatians, the 2nd chapter, is a good chapter as well. You can bring that out. So that lie that that's talking about his old life he used to live.
God. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 10. But by the grace of God, I am what I am.
Right.
And his grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain. But I labored more abundantly than they all.
Right.
Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me.
Start at verse 9, Scotty.
Verse 9. For I am the least of the apostles.
Right, so Paul said, hey, I am the least of the apostles. Read on.
That am not meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God.
Because guess what? Paul, he persecuted the church, man. He was off. He was wicked, just like all of us was. All right? Doing God know. I mean, we was off, man. Mind messed up. Spending vanity on stuff. Didn't know what was going on. Partying, clubbing. We was freaking off. So, hey, Paul said, hey, I'm the least of the apostles. And that's how we feel, man. We feel like we the least of the servants of the Lord. We put ourselves all the way at the bottom. Why? Because the things we used to do in the world. Read on.
Verse 10. But by the grace of God, I am what I am.
Right.
And his grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain.
And Paul didn't let that grace that the Most High, that second chance, get bestowed in vain. A lot of us, we do get second chances. Some of us get third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances and still let that grace go to waste. But Paul used his grace and you say, you know what? I'm not letting this go to waste. I can't let this grace that the Lord gave me go for naught. I'm going to do something with it. Read on.
But I labored more abundantly than they all.
Right.
Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me.
See that? So let's go to 1 Timothy 1-9. All right, 1 Timothy 1-9.
This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man.
Right.
But for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly, and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers,
right,
for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind,
read on,
for man stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, And if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine, according to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, which was committed to my trust.
Right.
And I thank Yahweh Shai, our Lord, who have enabled me, for that he counted me faithful, putting me into the ministry, who was before a blasphemer.
So Paul was a blasphemer.
And a persecutor.
He was persecuting the church.
And how you say that?
Injurious.
Injurious, right? Salakia. Right? But I obtained mercy because I did it ignorantly in unbelief.
See that? So Paul obtained mercy because he did it in unbelief. So what Paul is trying to get to this church of Rome, hey, guess what? All of that stuff don't mean nothing, man. All right? The Lord could give grace and have somebody change their ways and become a new man. But that's what, when Paul said, my lie, that's what he was talking about. Next question from D-Badge Brent. Shalom, what is Daniel 11 and 41 going into? Right, let's go to Daniel chapter 11 and 41. When you read Daniel, the 11th chapter, the first half of the chapter is going into, you have something called the 6 Syrian Wars. All right. But with these wars, it's a Daniel, the 11th chapter, pretty much, it covers history from the time of the Persian and Medes all the way till you get to Daniel, the 12th chapter, which is going into Jacob's trouble in the latter days. So Daniel, the 11th chapter, actually covers a lot of history, and a lot of the things that you read in Daniel, the 11th chapter, some of it has already came to pass, and the latter end of it is still to become to pass. All right, so a lot of the latter end of Daniel, the 11th chapter, a lot of that is still coming to pass. So you want to even be able to pinpoint, okay, you know, this is what this going into. This happened already. Okay, the king of the South. This is what this is Donald Trump. We got certain brothers saying that. All right, the king of the South. Yeah, this is Donald Trump. And this is what this going into. A lot of the stuff is in the latter end of Daniel is playing out as we live on this earth. Again, leading up to Daniel, the 12th chapter, which hasn't happened yet. But that's what it's going to, that's the history that it covers. So it's a lot of history in Daniel, the 11th chapter. That's a great and beautiful chapter. All right, but let's go to Daniel, chapter 11.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 41. Verse 41. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. But these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom, and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon.
Right.
He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape.
So when you go into this chapter, Daniel 11 and 41, you could handle that. I'm going to read it. All right. Now, when you read verse number 38, I'm going to start at verse 36. It says, and the king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor desire of women, nor regard any, for he shall magnify himself above all. So one of the last kings that you read about from verse 23 all the way, let me see, leading up until verse 30, there's going into, you have a man by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes IV, right, which was a wicked man that was set up during the time of the Greek Empire. Now, during this time, he magnified himself above all others. He went into the Holy Land. And after he went into the Holy Land, treaded the people of God underfoot, did the wickedness that he was doing. All right. The Most High ended up killing this man off. And after that, you have men that reigned after that started to come in. Now, before him, you had Antiochus the Great. also known as Antiochus III. You had the Diadochi, which was split up. You had the king of the north. You had Ptolemy, the first Soter. You had Bernice the first. These different biblical figures, nevertheless, once you read on to verse 30 in the ships of Chittim, which is going into Rome, all the way on down, those things are yet still to come to pass. That's why Daniel, the 11th chapter, is really, a lot of this stuff toward the end, you can't really pinpoint and tell in prophecy and say, guess what, this thing has happened yet. There's certain things in prophecy we won't know until the latter end, until the days go on and approach. Let's get that real fast. And Daniel 12:4. That's why the Lord said in the last days, guess what? Knowledge shall increase. Read that.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book.
Right.
Even to the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
See that? So knowledge shall be increased. So as the more the latter days approach, that's the more the Lord is going to give more understanding on certain things in the scriptures. You have certain things on the scriptures, you just not going to know. Let's go to Revelation chapter 10. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 10. And start at verse 6.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 10, verse 6. And swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that are therein, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein,
Right.
that there should be time no longer. But in 7 days of the voice of the seventh angel,
Right.
when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God shall be finished.
Right. So you have certain mysteries in the Bible that's going to be finished as time goes on. Right. Go in that chapter where it says the seven thunders. And you have seven thunders that was sealed up. I believe that's verse 4, where John, he seen certain things happen and he sealed them up. He didn't get an understanding on them and he didn't write them down for it to be made known in the scriptures. But that's going to be released as time goes on. So more prophecies could unfold. Just like the situation with Russia and Ukraine. Hey, that's a big part of prophecy in the scriptures that wasn't fulfilled until that war kicked off. So you could bring that up.
Revelation chapter 10, verse 4. And when the seven thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the seven thunders uttered, and write them not.
See that? So what are the seven thunders? You got certain brothers, yeah, I know this. What are the seven thunders? Can you break that down? Can you, if you could explain that to me, all praise to the Most High. All right, I'll be, surprised, but what are the seven thunders? You can't know because John didn't write that. He was about to, but the Lord had him seal it up. That's what's going to be revealed in the end as time goes on. All right, so that's pretty much, that. From kinfolk, what was the fire that came upon the altar in Leviticus 9:24 from a chariot? If so, where did the sacrifice go? All right, let's go to Leviticus 9:24.
It's the book of Leviticus chapter 9, verse 24. And there came a fire out from before the Lord, and consumed upon the altar the burnt offering and the fats.
Right.
Which, when all the people saw, they shouted and fell on their faces.
So this fire, it came from the heavens. All right. It came from the heavens. Now, start at verse 20. Leviticus chapter 9.
Verse 20. And they put the fat upon the breast, and he burnt the fat upon the altar. And the breast and the right shoulder Aaron weighed for a wave offering, before the Lord.
Now, when you go into this chapter, right, this is going into one of the first offerings that Aaron is offering up. All right. Again, during this time, a lot of these sacrifices that was being made, Aaron, he was made a priest. It wasn't like he was a Mattathias, a Joshua the high priest, and he was born into this thing. Aaron was made a priest by the Most High God. So he had to learn how to do these sacrifices. So this is one of the first offerings of Aaron. Read on.
Right, verse 22. And Aaron lifted up his hand towards the people and blessed them, and came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings.
Right.
And Moses and Aaron went into the tabernacle of the congregation and came out and blessed the people. And the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the people. And there came a fire out from before the Lord, and consumed upon the altar the burnt offering and the fat, which when all the people saw, they shouted and fell on their faces.
See that? So this fire came out from the heavens. The Lord had the fire to come and consume that burnt offering. All right, so I wouldn't say it was a chariot that had that fire. But the Lord, that was common for the Lord. Lord had fire come down from heaven, light up the burnt offering, and people, they amazed. Or a fire just gets started. Now let's go to 10 and 1. Because when you read the next chapter, the Lord had a fire come out and kill the sons of Aaron.
This is the book of Leviticus chapter 10, verse 1. And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took either of them his censer, and put fire therein, and put incense thereon, and offered strange fire before the Lord, which he commanded them not.
Because the Lord didn't command them to do that. So they did what they wanted to do. They offered up strange fire, and guess what happened?
And there went out fire from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord.
See that? So the Most High had another fire come out and destroy them because they didn't do the right offering, and it wasn't even their place. All right. So that's what that's going into.
I got a point too.
God.
When Elijah was going against the prophets of Baal, the Lord sent fire down on his sacrifice.
Can we get that
First
precept?
Kings. Yeah, First King. All right, this is the book of First Kings, chapter 8. I'm gonna start at verse. Let me see. I'll start at verse 30. All right, and Elijah said unto all the people, come near unto me, and all the people came near unto him. He repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And when the stones, he built an altar in the name of the Lord. He made a trench about the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. Right? And he put the wood in order and cut the bullock in pieces and laid him on the wood, and said, fill 4 barrels with water and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood. Right? I'm going to jump down to verse 36. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Israel, let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, and that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood and the stones, and the dust licked up the water that was in the trench. Right, so that fire came down from heaven and consumed the sacrifice.
God, that's right. All right, the Lord could do that. All right, next question from Kalina Shalom. Is it biblical that chariots also could descend down into the depths of the oceans.
Mm.
Now a chariot, now chiefly the chariots are, as clouds, so they in the sky. Nevertheless, if the Lord wanted a chariot to go to the depths of the ocean, absolutely. That could happen. All right. Let's go to Psalms 18 and 10. All right, it's not like a chariot could crash. It's not like a chariot could go in the water and it get all messed up. No, those chariots is, for lack of better terms, indestructible. All right, they move side to side. They could dodge because inside of those chariots, really, yeah, it's a chariot, but inside of those chariots, it's an actual creature inside of that that's moving, and it's a spirit inside of that, which are the angels. So really, I ain't gonna say they are the chariots, but they controlling it to the point where it's not like it's gonna malfunction or anything. It's not like it's a vehicle. All right, could chariot kind of need gas? It can't go certain places. All right, certain chariots, they don't got all-wheel drive. Some of them got rear-wheel drive. No, that's not. No. So let's bring that up.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 20. The Lord rewardeth me according
18 and 10.
So like this is the book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 10. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. He did fly upon the wings of the wind.
See that? So the chariots, they actually go upon the wings of the wind, which is really the air, for lack of better terms, meaning they can't crash. All right, there's no crash in the chariot. The angel, he kind of crashed the chariot somewhere. All right, that's not what's going on. So absolutely, if the Lord could send a chariot anywhere. Tell the angel, go right here. You can't put a certain limit on the chariot. Why? Because there's actual living creatures inside of that controlling it. Now you could let's go to Ezekiel 1 and 20. All right, let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1 and verse 20.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1 and verse 20. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them.
Right.
For the spirit.
Wait, read that part again.
God. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went.
So whatever the spirit inside want to go, that's where it's going to go. Whether that's in the depths of the ocean, whether that's the third heaven. This spirit might want to go to an island somewhere in a Bermuda Triangle. This spirit might want to go to Australia. Hey, this spirit might want to go to Antarctica. Wherever the spirit want to go, that's where it's going to go. Read on.
Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them.
Right.
For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels.
So the spirit of that creature is in those wheels, which is inside a wheel, which is a chariot. So absolutely, that could happen. Right? You got a precept?
Nah. That's plain.
Con. All right, next question. From Kinfolk, Shalom, and Salaki, if this is vague, but what is the precept where the Most High basically said the heathen has no business handling this word? It was in the prophets. The Most High said where the heathen had no business handling this word. Let's go to Psalms, chapter 50 and 16. I believe that's what you're talking about. I believe you're talking about Psalms, chapter 50 and 16.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 16. But unto the wicked, God saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth?
Right, so the Lord told hey, what are you doing to the wicked? Now, this go for our wicked people, but this go for the wicked, which are the heathens. Right, what are you doing to have this Bible in your hand, these statues? Now, on a deeper level, they can't really understand this book how we can understand it. It's a different spirit. Nevertheless, hey, the wicked are not to, if this is the precept that I think you're talking about, the wicked are not to have these statutes and these precepts. I mean, it's vain. It's not for them. This is only for the children of Israel. All right, God's chosen people, the blacks, like Hispanics, and Native Americans. So the wicked, that's why all of these Joel Osteens, these heathen people that want to believe in the Lord, the damn, that homeless Christian, he had Edomite. We seen an Elamite preaching Jesus the other day. Elam. He's supposed to be into Shiva and Ganesh. All right. You got damn Moab in the Bible. They supposed to be now. Hey, he's supposed to be practicing Buddhism.
Right.
He's supposed to be from the age of 0 to 25. He's supposed to be practicing celibacy somewhere in the woods and meditating for 25 years. Then from 25 to 50, he's supposed to have children. Then from 50 to 75, he's supposed to, according to, this is his doctrine, according to his doctrine, from 50 to 75, he's supposed to live as an elder, as a monk, and be in the woods again and just meditate.
Madness. That's madness. Their doctrine is flawed too.
See that?
Because, I forgot that Moabite name, but he was supposed to be meditating for like 2 months, but they caught him late at night going to go get something to eat. It's madness. It's madness.
See that? All right, you're supposed to be meditating in the wilderness with your head shaved, with a garment on, watching the water, just listening to. Now, I'm gonna be honest. A lot of that's practice. You know, it's all right, but guess what? It's not the law, statutes, and commandments.
Right.
It's not this truth.
It's madness.
You making a man. We gonna get into it, but yeah.
Yeah, man.
They're not supposed to deal with this Bible. They can't keep the precepts. Let's get one more precept on that. Let's go to 2nd Esdras 3 and 36. All right, the heathens, they can't keep the commandments. They barely even keep their own commandments. How are they gonna keep the commandments of the Lord? And this truth requires you to be very disciplined. If you don't have discipline, it's gonna be hard for you to survive in this truth. There's a lot of stuff you're going to have to just cut off. You're going to have to cold turkey walk away from. And if you can't do that, you're going to have a hard time. It's going to be some things the Lord going to tell you to do. You're going to have to do it. The Lord tells you how to live the life. But at the end of the day, for some odd reason, man still wants to do the devices in his heart. Let's bring that up.
This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 3, verse 36. Thou shalt find that Israel by name have kept thy precepts.
Right.
But not the heathen.
Read that again. But not the heathen.
But not the heathen.
So the heathen can't keep the precepts. All right. The heathen, they going to break the commandments. Like we always say, it was this one guy on Clubhouse. You know, he was saying, man, I was keeping the laws, the Torah. I was not eating shrimp, crab, or lobster, pork. All right. I was down, I had my fringes, I'm keeping the feast days, I'm fasting, I'm praying. All right. What else was he doing? Hey, I'm keeping the ceremonial laws. He said, but guess what? He said it was something, I just couldn't do it anymore. And he stopped. He couldn't take it. So guess what? They can't keep the precepts. All right. It's not in their spirit. Next question. Let me see. From Rich Buddy. Does to be absent from the body is to be absent with the Lord mean we are spirits who go straight to heaven when we die, walk in holiness and service in Yahushua? Or do you believe we cease? Let me, if I'm reading that right. It says, when we die, walking in holiness, serve to Yahushua, or do you believe we cease? Right? You never cease. All right, you actually, your spirit lives forevermore. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 7. When you die, you go up to the third heaven where the Most High dwells. It's a lot of spirits created. It's a lot of souls created. All right, you had a chamber of souls that you read about in Second Esdras. The Lord has a lot of souls stored up, and these spirits get regenerated. They get reused. They don't get destroyed, and the Lord is not creating no new spirits. The Lord created everything in the 6 days. So everything that the Lord needed, he got it done within the 6 days. He's not creating anything more. Let's bring that up.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was,
Right?
and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it.
So dust turn into dust, ash to ashes. Your spirit goes right back up to the Lord immediately. So as soon as you die, boom, spirit right up in the third heaven. Now, let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Because a man, he experienced going into the third heaven. He experienced almost death. And he describing what it's like to be in the third heaven. You got those people saying, yeah, I died and I came back to life. And I heard nothing but black people up there. All right. Like that one case, I was in heaven. I saw nothing but black people. All right. So read that.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7. I'll start at verse 1.
Start at verse 3.
Verse 3. And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I could not tell.
Right. Now, Paul is actually talking about himself, but he's writing this in, different perspective.
God knoweth how that he was caught up into paradise.
So the third heaven, you have 3 heavens. You have the first heaven, which is the earth, the skies. You have the second heaven, which is the waters which is above the heavens. That's why the sky is blue. And then you have the third heaven, where the Most High dwells. Read on.
And heard unspeakable words,
right?
Which it is not lawful for a man to utter.
So Paul heard some things he couldn't even describe up there. Probably the ancient Paleo Hebrew. All right, sounds of it's praises that we don't even know yet. Words of praises. I mean, we say hallelujah, but it's probably another word to praise the Most High we don't even know. Read on.
Of such an one will I glory, yet of myself I will not glory.
Right.
But in my infirmities. For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool.
Right, that's it on that. The point is, guess what? When you die, your spirit is not cut off. All right. If that's the case, Abraham's spirit is cut off, which is he's not, because the Lord say he's gonna send. Let's go to that last precept in 2 Esdras 1. All right. The Lord said he's gonna send these spirits back on the earth. That means they spirits couldn't just cease. Let's go to 2 Esdras.
This is the book of 2 Esdras, chapter 1 and verse 39. Unto whom I will give for leaders Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I believe that's Hosea, Amos, and Micah's, Joel, Abdias, and Jonah.
Right.
Nahum, and Salakia.
Rebecca, was that? Let's see.
Right, Habakkuk.
Let me see.
Habakkuk.
Nahum and Habakkuk.
And Habakkuk. Oh, okay. I thought that was one word. Salakia. Nahum and Habakkuk and Zephaniah.
Haggai.
And Haggai and Zechariah and Malachi, which is called also an angel of the Lord.
So the Lord said, guess what? He's going to give for leaders. So if Abraham is already dead, these prophets, how are the Most High going to give them for leaders? Because your spirit never cease. Your spirit always leave on. That's deep when you think about it. So because this flesh is temporary, but your spirit is what matters. Your spirit is what counts. That's what live on afterward. All right. So going into that. Next question from Devora Kasi de Zebulon. In the end, what happens to the Israelite children who are not living in the truth? What do you mean that's not living in the truth? What happens to the Israelite children who are not living in the truth? I mean, you can have wicked children, if I'm understanding what you're saying. So it's basically like this. Whether you're a child, whether you're an elderly person, you might be a young man in your 20s, you might be in the 70s. If you don't repent and keep the commandments, and you're not in this truth, you're going to be destroyed. All right? She said, like the parents are not in the truth. Well, let's go to 2 Chronicles 13 and 15. I mean, it's one foot in. I mean, you're either on the God side or no side at the end of the day.
It's the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 13, verse 15. Then the men of Judah gave a shout, and as the men of Judah shouted, it came to pass.
15:13. Block you.
All right. It's the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 15, verse 13. That whosoever would not seek the Lord God of Israel,
Right. So if you don't seek the Lord God of Israel, read on.
should be put to death.
Right.
Whether small or great, whether man or woman.
So whether you small or great, man or woman, if you don't seek the Lord God of Israel, you are going to get put to death. That goes for anybody. That goes for a child. Let's go to Proverbs 20 and 11. That goes for a child. That goes for parents that's not in this truth. That goes for anybody. You're either keeping the Lord's commandments and having faith that you're going to be saved and a part of the 1/3. If you're not, you're going to be destroyed. Simple. I can't even say the Most High is going to have mercy on those people because who am I to say that? The Lord might see, I might think somebody needs to have mercy the whole time. In the eyes of the Lord, they don't need no mercy. And the Lord going to kill them.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 11. Even a child is known by his doings.
So even a child is known by his, don't let children fool you. Hey, some of these kids be bad.
Man.
These kids be off. These kids know exactly what's going on. Don't let these children fool you, man. Read on.
Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right.
So it's all up to the Lord. But again, if you're not in this truth, you're not repented, keeping the commandments, having a faith, in the end, when all hell break loose, now the Lord does show mercy to whom he showed mercy. He could bring them in at the last second and have them repent. But in order for you to get saved, you must repent. All right? You must repent. Let's go to the next question. It says from Derek Moss, I have a couple questions for you guys. One, if all of the Israelites will be righteous to believe and death is swallowed up, why do the scriptures say the 144,000 will judge the tribes? Hold on. If all Israel will be righteous and death is swallowed up, why do the scriptures say 144,000 will judge the tribes? Let's go to, I'm not sure how I can understand it. If all Israel will be righteous and death is swallowed up, why do the scriptures say 144,000 will judge the tribes? Well, it's a hierarchy. All right? It's a hierarchy. It's a hierarchy in the third heaven. It's going to be a hierarchy on this earth. The 144,000, let's go to Revelation chapter 14 and verse 4. Those are the first fruits of the Most High God. Now you had a 1/3 that will be saved. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, Israel is going to be in the kingdom. They're going to be regenerated. Even the wicked Israelites, the 2/3, Eventually, there will come in, but it's a hierarchy. You have men that's going to be at the top in the kingdom, and you have men that's going to be at the bottom. Just like in this society, in America, you have people, you have the rich people, and you have the poor. It's always going to be a civil class in any kingdom. That's in any kingdom, including Christ's kingdom. It was a civil class in Babylon, Greece, Rome, America, medieval times. It's always going to be a hierarchy in the status. That's just how it is. It's the same thing with the Most High. The Most High is at the top. Christ is second. Everything else fall in line. The angels, righteous angels, etc. Archangels. Not every angel is on the same level. You have archangels and you have regular angels. So let's bring that up.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with women,
Right.
for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb, whithersoever he goeth.
Right.
These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb.
So if you're not a first fruit, does that not mean you're a fruit at all? No, you could be a fruit, but you might not be the first fruits. The first fruits are the fruits that's redeemed first. So you're gonna have certain men, they're gonna rise up versus other men. Let's go to Matthew 5:17. That's why the Lord said you either gonna be called great in the kingdom or you're gonna be called least in the kingdom. So you're gonna have people that's great in the kingdom. You're gonna have people that's least in the kingdom. You're gonna have certain brothers, they're gonna have 10 cities. You're gonna have certain brothers, they're gonna have 5 cities. You're gonna have certain brothers, they're gonna have 1 city. You're gonna have certain brothers, they're gonna have 0 cities. You're gonna have certain brothers, they're gonna get destroyed. They're not even gonna make it to the kingdom. You have certain brothers, they're gonna have this many amounts of lands. Like it's all determined upon the work that you put in. You can bring that out.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5. We'll start at verse 17.
John.
Verse 17, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Right.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
Right.
Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments.
You're going to have people that's doing that. They're going to break one of these least commandments. Read on.
And shall teach men so.
Right.
He shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
Right.
But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
See that? So you're going to have men that's least in the kingdom. You're going to have men that's great in the kingdom. Simple as that. You're going to have 144,000, which is the ruling, governed body over the nation of Israel. And you're going to have certain regular Israelites, they just in the kingdom, enjoying life. Then you're going to have the men they going to be judges. Because you still going to have to judge matters. This brother might have more servants than I might have in the kingdom. It's all upon the work that you put in this truth right now. So, Lord willing, that answered the question. Number 2 from Derek Moss. I've heard many say there are 613 laws, statutes, and commandments in the scriptures. Can you list them or do videos of them all? Some of us may want to rehearse them. Absolutely, we could do that. All right. It's actually the law, statutes, and commandments. As we have certain sheets printed out, we could do a code cut on that. Have a brother do a code cut of that. But that's really going into all of the laws, statutes, commandments, and even the ordinances that's written, including the ceremonial laws, laws about a Hebrew servant, laws about the land, things like that. So absolutely, we could do that. Please break down John 18:39 as it is relates to the death of Christ. Is this the 14th or 15th day? All right, let's go to John 18:39.
This is the book of John, chapter 18, verse 39. But ye have a custom that I should release unto you one at the Passover. Will ye therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews?
Right.
Then cried they all again, saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber.
So basically, when you go into this custom, it was a custom during the ancient times, during this time where you had crucifixion was heavy during the time of Rome. So men that was injurious, men that was thieves, robbers, they will be crucified. And it's just so happened this is the ordinance on this day. And that's spiritual when you think about it, because even before Christ was set up to be crucified on this day, they did these things the year previous, the previous year before, the previous year before, etc. So that's why the two male benefactors, Christ wasn't the only one that was crucified. You had two male benefactors. If Christ wasn't crucified, those two male benefactors would have still been crucified. So it was a custom for them to release one every year, basically let them free, show mercy. And they asked him, are we going to release the King of the Jews on this time? Or are we not? Right? So that was a custom back then during that time. So you could even look that up and do more research on that as well. That's pretty much all it's going into. And Christ was crucified, right, the 14th day at evening, which is the 15th day. So it's the same. The 14th day at evening is the 15th day.
Right.
It's just because the sun, well, you tell your days depending on when the sun sets and when the sun rises. Let's get that in Leviticus chapter 23 and 32.
All right. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 2.
32.
32, sorry. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even.
See that? So the 9th day of the month at evening, guess what? That's going into when the sun sets, and that begins a new day. Read on.
From even unto even shall ye celebrate the Sabbath.
So from even into even. Why? Again, that marks that day. All right. That's what that's going into. You had a precept? All right, let's go to the book of Judges. I want to get another precept on that. It's in the cut, though. I believe Judges chapter 19. Judges 19 and 9, if I'm not mistaken. Right, this is a pure cut showing you, guess what? The day begins when the sun sets.
Right, it's the book of Judges, chapter 19, verse 9. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draweth toward evening.
Read that again.
Now the day draweth toward evening.
So the day draweth toward evening. Read on.
I pray you, tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end.
So that's letting you know when the day draws to the evening, guess what? That's when the day goeth to an end. And a new day begins. Right? So that's what that's going into. All right, you got scoffers in the chat. Right? It's somebody that believe in Islam in here. It's always the Muslims. All right, next question. Next question. Are you guys familiar with the Israel of God? I don't know if that's a question. From Swag Society, is Luke 2 and 32 a light, us being a light to the heathen nations in the kingdom? Or is it the same light to the Israelites that sit in darkness in Luke 1 and 79? All right, let's go to Luke 2 and 32.
This It's the book of Luke, chapter 2, and verse 32. A light to lighten the Gentiles,
Right.
and the glory of thy people Israel.
Read on.
And Joseph and his mother marveled at those things which were spoken of him.
Right. So this light that it's talking about. Now a lot of brothers they take this like, yeah, we're gonna be a light to the heathen. Now this is actually when you read Luke 2 and 32. This is actually a prophecy that Isaiah was prophesied in the Old Testament. All right. Now is that at verse 30?
Verse 30. For mine eyes have seen thy salvation, which thou hast prepared before the face of all people, a light to lighten the Gentiles, and the glory of thy people Israel.
Right. So that's kind of double fold because we're us in this truth. We're gonna be a light to the Gentiles. You have two types of Gentiles. You have the heathen Gentiles and you have the Israelite Gentiles. So we a light to the people in this world that sit in darkness. Absolutely. Because these people, they don't know God. A Christ was a light. You had people in the truth that was still in darkness. Can you believe that? They knew they was Israel. They knew about the commandments, but they was still in darkness. Why? Because Christ was the pure walk. He was the pure light. He was that pure light. Let's go to that in John 1 and verse number 8. Christ was that light that lighted up the whole world. So we're lights to the people that's not in this truth. And you got the heathens as well. We are light to them as well because they look at us and they say, dang, who are these people? All right. Who are these the true? And you got certain heathens coming out saying, hey, y'all are the true people of God. Why? Because they see that light, which is given from above. Let's bring that up.
It's the book of John, chapter 1, verse 8. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light.
Right.
That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world.
See that? So Christ was that true light that lighteth up every man that come into this thing. So absolutely. Next question. From Swag Society is Revelation 19 and 16 and Deuteronomy 10 and 17 talking about Yahweh Shai? Or is Revelation 19 and 16 about Christ and Deuteronomy 10 and 17 about the Most High? Revelation 19 and 16, that is talking about Christ. All right, let's go to that real quick. Well, let's go to Revelation 19:16.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 19, verse 16. And he have on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Right, because Christ is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. All right, that's what he is. That's another title. Now, is that saying? Because I actually seen a Christian use this on the Israelite and said, "Well, Jesus is God. He's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords." When you read this chapter, Revelation 19, this is a vision of what John's seeing, and Christ is coming back to make war. That's why it says he's gonna have a blood. His vesture is all white. It's gonna be dipped in blood. So he's actually coming back in the spirit, and he's gonna have on his vesture King of Kings and Lord of Lords, because he's the King of Kings and Lords of Lords of everybody except the Most High God. Because at the end of the day, the Lord and the Most High God, he's a king. All right. He's the real true King of Kings over everybody, including Christ. But Christ is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords of everybody except the Most High himself. I mean, that's his father. How you going to be a king over your father?
The firstborn.
He's the prince. All of these words, they mean the same thing, but yeah, that's what that's going into. Deuteronomy 10 and 17.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verse 17. For the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, a great God, a mighty and a terrible, which regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward.
Right? Now, go to Psalms 110 and 1. Right? This precept confound a lot of people. So, Christ has a God. If somebody is the God of all gods, do you think that would be Jesus Christ? Actually, before we go to there, let's go to Revelation 3 and 12. Christ has a God. So that means Christ is not the God of gods.
Right. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3, which one is 16?
12.
Right, verse 12. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God.
So Christ has a God. Who is his God? The Most High. All right. Just go back to Psalms 110 and 1.
Okay, come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 110, verse 1. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool.
So David said the Lord, which is Yahushua, the Lord, which is the Most High, said unto my Lord, all right, which is Yahushua, make thy enemies thy footstool. So you have the Lords of the Lords and the gods of gods on a deeper level. That's the chief level, that the Most High, he's king over all. But Christ is given that title, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, gods of gods, of everybody except the Most High. So you don't want to be confused with that. Christ even said the Father is greater than I. That doctrine of, what's that doctrine? That doctrine of Jesus being God, that comes from the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. When you look in that council, you had this doctrine called Arianism, which everybody knew that God was greater, the Father was greater than Christ, and they were separate. But you had a doctrine, a group of men trying to change that to Jesus is God. And that's why everybody believes that now. If it wasn't for the Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, nobody would think that Jesus is God, because back then it was common that they wasn't. It's a lot of questions. From Danny Cano, do we have free will? Are you want to answer that?
Right. Do we have free will? I mean, no, we do not have free will. Because the Lord literally knows what every move we make. Right? He knows our thoughts, our actions before we even do it. I mean, he knows everything about us. So for him to know, for even us to say that we have free will, I mean, that's madness. Because for one, the Lord don't even want you to go over you based on your own thoughts. That's just to let you know that you don't have free will. Right, so let me get a classic. 115. Right. It's the book of Psalms. Matter of fact, I'm going to hold that. Let me get Isaiah. Isaiah 46. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 40. That's 48. All right. Salakia. Oh, no, Salakia. I mean, Jeremiah. All right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 46, and verse 10. It says, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times, the things that are not yet done. Right? So the Lord declares the end from the beginning. So the Lord knows the end and the beginning. So he has a whole account of your whole life that's set. That's foundation from the world. So if you ever think that whatever you do on a day-to-day basis, and you think that, oh, this your new, like you knew you was going to do it, or you think that you decide to do it, the Lord already programmed you to do that. right? So it says, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure, right? So the Lord has control over everything in your life, whether good or evil, right? So there's no way that the Lord cannot know what you're doing, right? So let me get, I'm gonna get Psalms 115:3, right? So there's no free will. The Lord said, Yahweh Shah said, He knows the number of the hairs on your head, man. So if you think you have free will, you know, the Lord literally knows the number of the hairs on your head. The Lord didn't create anything and didn't think you were gonna do the things you was gonna do. I mean, that's just fairy tales, right? Let's get Psalms 115:3. Right. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 115:3. Right? It says, but our God is in the heavens, and He have done whatsoever He have pleased. So the Lord can put an evil spirit on you to make you do things that you do not want to do. The Lord has full control over your spirit, right? The Lord created evil and good. So all the evil things that you did, He created it. And whatever spirit that He put upon you, He declared that spirit to be upon you for you to do the things you do, right? So I'm going to bring out one more precept, right? Get an account. Because the Lord can send a lying spirit on you, and that next thing you know, you just lying. You just lie about anything. Now you just saying you had a burger and and you didn't. You ate. No, I ain't eat today, but you did though.
Right.
You just lying for no reason, right? All right, we're gonna get that in 2 Kings. I believe that's 2 Kings. All right. Could be 1 Kings, so I can.
You talking about the lion spirit?
Yeah, come on.
Or you can go to the Chronicles, 2 Chronicles 18.
Yeah, you can though.
And
Let's bring that up.
20.
Right. Come on. This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 20.
18 to 20.
Yeah, 18 and 20. Come on. Right. This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 18, verse 20. Right. It says, then there came out a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? Right. So the Lord knows everything was going on in the third heavens. Don't think like the Lord created everything and He has no control over His angels and people, right? So don't think like He has no control over you, because there's no free will. The Lord didn't just create man and women and decide to have everybody do the things they want to do. And if so, there wouldn't be Yahweh Shah. There wouldn't be no type of ordinances on this place or any prophecies happen. Everything would just be. It'd just be, right? So read on, it says, verse 21, it says, and he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do even so. And it's just a prime example that the spirits don't have free will, because they listen to what the Lord commands them. So if the spirits, the angels, have to listen to the Most High, and they not even control of themselves, what makes you think you have free will? So the Lord just sent the lying spirit on the prophets and have them think that Ahab was going to be able to just, overcome a battle. And look what happened. He ended up dying. Right? So your answer, no, there's no free will. What you got?
That's right. All right, we have destiny. Next question. It's a lot of questions. All right, we're gonna fly through these. From TSSSSSSSSS. What does Revelation 21:24 mean? Let's go to it. Now, Revelation, the 21st chapter, that's going into New Jerusalem. That's going into when the Israelites are set in the homeland. All right. Everything is set up, is established, the hierarchy, all of that, the wall set up, etc. Revelation 21:24.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 24. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it.
Right.
And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And
now, we read on.
God. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of nations into it. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth.
So what that's going into, you're going to have nations that's going to be reserved for our slaves. All right. So on a deeper level, all right, we're going to say it on a deeper level, all nations are not going to be destroyed. All right. Now I'm going to clarify that. All right. You got a lot of people, hold on, the nations, they not going to be destroyed. All right. They making a damn TikTok clip out of this expose. No, this not, we about to clear it up. You're going to have nations, absolutely, they're going to be destroyed on this side, a lot of them, but you're going to have nations that's going to be reserved as slaves. We're going to take them, we're going to round them up, and we're going to take them to the land of Israel. Because if the Most High kill off all nations, I mean, who are we going to have as servants? All right? Who is going to be our servants? So the elect, the 144,000, all right, they're going to round up these rest of these servants, and we're going to fetch them up out of the clefts of the rocks. We're going to grab them up. The elect, they're going to put them in chains, and they're going to bring them to the land of the Israel. They're going to be reserved. And guess what? They're going to build up the kingdom from scratch up. Let's go to Jeremiah 16:16. From Wandering Messenger, we're going to answer your question, brother. All right, it's first come, first serve. So we're going to tackle, we're not going to end the live stream until we answer everybody's questions. All right, we just need patience. Read that.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, verse 16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for my hunters. So like I will send for many hunters.
Right.
And they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks.
See that? So we're going to fetch them up out of the clefts of the rocks, the caves, the underground bunkers. Now go to Isaiah 14:1. So these nations, they're going to bring gifts to us. All right. They're going to be, that's why it says the nations that are saved, those are the ones that's going to be reserved. Read that.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them.
Now, where is these strangers? If all nations was to be destroyed, where are these strangers going to come from? They're just going to reappear up in the kingdom. We got the most, this truth is not just fairy tales. This is realistic. This reality. We're going to need at least a couple servants so they could multiply, have more offspring, so that they can multiply, and we use them as servants and handmaids. All right. The only nation that will be exterminated is the Edomites after they served 8,000 years of captivity. But read that. Read on that.
Right. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord.
Right.
Servants and handmaids.
See that? Read on. And
they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
So the roles is gonna reverse. We're the captives right now. Guess what? They're gonna be the captives in the days to come. So So that's what that's going into. Revelation 21:4. The nations that are reserved. All right. They're going to come up. And then you're going to have nations. Let's go to Isaiah 2 and 2 real quick. You're going to have nations trying to come up to the land of Israel so they could get the light. And they're going to cleave. You got Zechariah 8:23. They're going to be trying to take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew. So you could bring that out.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 2 verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it.
See that? So all nations going to flow into it. Read on.
And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up into the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob.
Right.
And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
See that? So that's actually going to be happening in the kingdom as well. All right. So let's move on to the next question from Great Info Online. What don't camps talk about the fallen angels?
Yeah.
I believe you mean why don't camps talk about the fallen angels? Right? Well, guess what? Angels, they can't fall. All right. Let's go to the book of Psalms. All right. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 120. Angels can't sin. All right. Psalms 103 and verse 20, I believe. Right. Psalms chapter 103, 20.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 103, verse 20. Bless the Lord, ye his angels,
Right.
that excel in strength.
So the angels excel. When it's more angels, it's more stronger. They're more stronger and more powerful. Read on.
That do his commandments.
That what?
That do his commandments.
So the angels do the commandments of the Lord. Give me Job 2 and 11. We was about to do another breakdown right after this about that, because you have certain people, they think it was a real war in heaven. All right. You have people on the earth, they really think that it was angels. It was Lucifer and his angels. They fought against the Most High God, and God kicked them out of heaven. And the fallen angels, they went to LA. That's not, come on, really? Angel, you think God would create something that would disobey him when he commanded them to do? Now, the Lord could command somebody to be disobedient, but not the angelical beings. So even Satan, the devil, he has to obey what God says. All right? They think it was a word. I remember that, watching that as a kid, man. I watched it as a kid. They had Lucifer. He was in there playing the violin. All right? He was over the orchestra. He had beautiful wings. They say he was the most beautifulest angel. All right? Then he was over the orchestra. He was over the choir. And then he started looking at God. He said, nah, he's too powerful, right? One man shouldn't have all that power. That Kanye West spirit. All right? Not one man should have all that power. Hey, a brother said that at camp, man. He said, what do you think about Lucifer overthrowing God? Now we asking him, we like, brother, that didn't happen. He was like, well, guess what? I'm kind of glad Satan did that.
What?
All right. He said, I just think one man, he shouldn't just have all of that power. All right. So guess what? You got people thinking Satan overthrew the Most High. All right, they getting into a bang out. Most High, he dodging like this. No, that's not happening. Let's read. The Most High is too powerful, man. So let's read that. Job 2 and 11.
It's the book of Job, chapter 2, verse 11. Now when Job's three friends heard of all this evil
Job 2 and 3. It's like it. Yeah, Job 2 and 2.
This is the book of Job, chapter 2, verse 2. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And
Well,
Satan,
start at verse 1. It's like it.
verse 1. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord.
So the sons of God, those are the angelical beings. Read on. They came to present themselves before the Lord, meaning they bowed down. They came to present themselves. When you present yourself before somebody, you come correct.
Right.
Read on.
And Satan came also.
And what?
And Satan came also.
Read on.
Among them to present himself before the Lord.
So even Satan presents himself before God. So you got to take out this doctrine. It's a lie. It's not according to the Bible. Where do we even say in the Bible that Satan was a choir director? Right? He was over all of the music.
They got a TV series of him too. A deep TV series called Lucifer. And he's a so-called white man.
See that?
And he's a sodomite and mess with women. And he bring out people's desires and do whatever they tell him to do. And it's off.
Yeah, that's madness.
Yeah.
All the angels are dark melanated beings, by the way, including Satan. So, I mean, there's no such thing as an angel that's for angels can't fall.
And on top of that, he got a twin.
See that? Madness. Next question.
That's all.
What does Isaiah 56 and 6 through 7 mean? Let's go to it. Let's go to Isaiah 56, 6 through 7.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 56, verse 6. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord, to serve him, and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting.
Right.
And take hope.
Now you had the sons of the stranger. These are Israelites who fathers was an outcast. There's many different ways you could be an outcast. All right. And they left the life, or they left the land of Israel. There's many different ways. You could be a bastard. All right. Your mom could be a harlot. I mean, you could be wounded in the stones. Let's go to Psalms chapter 147 and verse number 3, I believe.
It's the book of Psalms chapter 147, verse 3. He healeth the broken in heart and bindeth up their wounds. He telleth the number of the stars. He calleth them all by their names.
Right.
Great is our Lord and of great power. His understanding is infinite.
Start at verse from the top, Slakia.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 1. Praise ye the Lord, for it is good to sing praises unto our God. For it is pleasant, and praise is comely. The Lord doeth build up Jerusalem. He gathered together the outcasts of Israel.
So the Most High, he's going to gather at the end all the outcasts of Israel. All right. What are those outcasts? Again, are people who was casted out. Let's go to Leviticus 18 and verse number 27. I believe that's what I want. Leviticus 18 and 27. You have people that was cut off from Israel. It might be 18 and 29. One of those.
It's the book of Leviticus chapter 18, verse 29. Right? For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people.
So you could be cut off from among your people. If you commit the abominations that was listed in Leviticus, the 18th chapter, once you cut off from your people, and you could be banished. They could banish you, say, yeah, you can't come back here to the land of Israel. All right. So guess what? That's what that's going into. Let's go to Leviticus 25:35, the classic. You have a stranger, an Israelite could be waxing poor and become a stranger.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 35. And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee,
Right?
then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger.
Though he what?
Though he be a stranger.
So your brother could be a stranger, read on.
Or a sojourner, that he may live with thee.
So the sons of the stranger in Isaiah 56, that's talking about the Israelites who are outcasts, not talking about heathens. So let's go back to Isaiah 56 and 6.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 56, verse 6. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants.
Right.
Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it.
Read on.
And taketh hold of my covenant.
Right.
Even them will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer.
Read on.
Their burnt sacrifice, so like their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon my altar. For my house shall be called an house of prayer for all people.
Is that verse 7?
God.
Right. So when it says people, these Christians, they take this verse and say, hey, the house of the Lord, that's going to be a prayer for all people. All right. No, that's not. It's not talking about all people on the earth. The all people that it's talking about is the children of Israel. Let's go to Zechariah 14:21. Because, I mean, that's an end-up breakdown, you know. Who could pray to, everybody can't pray unto the Lord. The Lord only hears the prayers of the saints.
All right. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 14. What verse you want?
21.
Verse 21. Yeah, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts.
Right.
And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seethe therein.
Right.
And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts.
Right.
Right, that's it.
So when you go into this, that's again, that all people is talking about all of the Israelites. All right. Because you're gonna have the Canaanites coming up. That's not talking about literally every single one of all of the Canaanites. There's always gonna be a remnant. So let's go to Revelation. All right. Well, actually, let's go to Tobit 12:15. Because the Most High is only hearing the prayers of the saints.
This is the book of Tobit, chapter 12, verse 15. I am Raphael, one of the 7 holy angels,
Right.
which present the prayers of the saints, and which go in and out before the glory of the Holy One.
Right. So why isn't Raphael presenting the prayers of the heathens? I mean, why not? Say all people that's gonna be a prayer house of prayer for all people. Why is Raphael only taking the prayers of the saints? Because the Lord is only dealing with the Israelites. Who are the saints, the children of Israel? Let's go to that. Psalms 50:5. Hey, Aaron was a saint. That's Psalms 106:16. He was an Israelite from the tribe of Levi.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 50, verse 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
So the saints are those that made a covenant with God by sacrifice, which you can read about in Exodus 24th chapter. Let's just move on to the next question. The angel in Revelation 10. Let's go to Revelation 10:1.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 10, verse 1. And And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire.
Right. So this is an angel. Now this angel is not mentioned. All right. So we can't pinpoint and say it's an exact angel. Let's go to because we don't have enough evidence. Let's go to the book of Judges 13. Certain angels, you're not going to know their name. Certain angels, you are going to know their name. Like Raphael. We just read Tobit. He said, hey, I am Raphael. Michael the Archangel. Uriel. Gabriel. Certain angels, they don't have, they have a name, but it doesn't matter because, not saying that they're not that important, but they might not have that much status. It was a mighty angel. We can't say who is the angel. We don't know who this angel is. Let's go to Judges 13. Instead at verse 10.
This is the book of Judges, chapter 13, verse 10. And the woman made haste and ran, and shewed her husband, and said unto him,
Jump down to verse 17.
verse 17, and Manoah, right? Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, what is thy name?
So this angel which came to this woman and said she's going to have a child, is going to be a Nazarite. We was talking about Samson. All right. He asked, he said, guess what? Hey, what is thy name? Read on.
That when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor.
Right.
And the angel of the Lord said unto him, why askest thou thus after my name? Seeing it is secret.
So certain angels' names is secret. All right. You can't find, their name out unless it's given from the Lord.
Fire.
Next question. From in plain sight, where did you locate the name Yahweh? Where do we get the name from? You have to, when you go into the Lajuan Kodash, and you link up the Tetragrammaton, and you go into the Paleo Hebrew, that's where you get the name Yahweh from, which means he exists. From TSSSS, what does Revelation 20 mean? Let's go to Revelation 20 and 5 mean.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 5. But the rest of the dead lived not again until 1,000 years were finished.
Start at verse 4.
Verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua.
Right, so you're going to have certain men that's going to... Now, Revelation, the 20th chapter is a tricky chapter because it goes in and out of time. One verse is talking about something that happened. Another is going into a future prophecy. Then the other verse is going into something that didn't happen. Then another verse is going into something that happened already. So you go into this Revelation, the 20th chapter, and verse 3, verse 4 is going into the souls of the men that's beheaded for the word of God. All right, read on.
And for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast,
right,
neither his image, neither have received his mark upon their foreheads,
read on,
or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years.
So this is actually going into the kingdom. All right. When these men overcome all things, they're going to live and reign with Christ 1,000 years. Now, the thing with Revelation 20, we read verse 3, because verse 4, let's just not saying we're going to take it out the Bible, but let's just take that verse out for a second. Let's not read that verse. Start at verse 3 in Revelation 20 and 3.
Just the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 3. and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more.
Right, talking about the so-called white man being shut down for 1,000 years, going into the dark ages. Read on.
Till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled.
Now that's going into the dark ages, when the so-called white man was taken out of power for 1,000 years. All right, also known as the Holy Roman Empire. The Middle Ages. Middle time approaching. Now skip verse 4 and go straight to 5.
Verse 5. And the rest of the dead live not again,
Right,
until the 1,000 years were finished.
right,
This is the first resurrection.
right. So this is going into, that's verse 5.
Gone.
That's going into the first resurrection. All right, let's go to Luke 14 and 13. Now you have something called the resurrection of the just. All right. So you had 1,000 years where the so-called white man was taken out of power. Then you had 1,000 years where the Israelites are going to reign with Christ forever. The 1,000 years where the so-called white man was taken out of power, that's a literal 1,000 years. The other 1,000 years where the Israelites are going to live and reign with Christ, that's not a literal 1,000 years. That's talking about forever. Now let's break down verse 5. Luke 14 and 13.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 14, verse 13. But when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and thou shalt be blessed. For they cannot recompense thee, for thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just.
So you have something called the resurrection of the just. All right. Also known as the first resurrection. Where you're going to be resurrected from the graves and judged according to the works. And you're going to be passed into everlasting life or not. So let's go back to that in Revelation 20 and 5.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 5. But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection.
Right.
On such, the second death hath no power.
Because you either going to get resurrected to everlasting life, or you're going to be resurrected. Everybody's going to be resurrected. Nobody is not going to come out of the grave that's not in the graves. Everybody will be resurrected. You're either going to be resurrected into everlasting life or everlasting contempt. Let's get that in Daniel 12 and 2 real quick.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 2. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
See that? So some people going to be resurrected to everlasting life, some to everlasting shame and contempt. Right? So like if I didn't hit your question, they some of these questions get deleted after a while. From Swag Society, it's 2 Chronicles 6 and 32 through 34. It's talking about heathen and strangers praying to Yah. Is this how it will be in the kingdom where the heathen can pray and still be a clear hierarchy of the Israelites ruling?
So, who?
2 Chronicles 6 and 32 through 34. Right, we kind of just went over this.
It says 2 Chronicles 6 and 23.
2 Chronicles 6 and 32.
Oh, 6 and 32. Yeah, we did go over this.
You can read it again, though.
2 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 32. Moreover, concerning the stranger, which is not of thy people Israel.
So that stranger, which is not of thy people Israel, those are the outcasts of Israel. Those are the people that was cut off from Israel because of their disobedience or whatever situation or circumstance they was in. So this goes for the same answer for the last question we asked, and that was asked in Isaiah 56. These are talking about Israelites, because again, only the Israelites could pray to the Lord. The Lord, he's not hearing the prayers of heathens. I mean, that's just complete madness. So that's what that's going into. Those are Israelites. All right, let's move on. What happens to the 2/3 after they are cut off? Do they come back in a regeneration? Once the 2/3, right, they come back in a regeneration. Let's go to Isaiah 45 and 25. Because all Israel will be saved at the end of the day.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 25. And the Lord shall all the seed of Israel be justified.
Right.
And shall glory.
So all the seed of Israel will be justified eventually. Now let's go to Isaiah 22 and 14. Because those 2/3, they have to be purged of their sins in order to get into the kingdom. Meaning they have to go into the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone.
Right. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 22, verse 5.
14.
Done. And it was revealed in my ears by the Lord of hosts, surely this iniquity shall not be purged from you till ye die.
So certain iniquities can't be purged until you get put to death. That's the only way you can't repent, can't say I'm sorry, can't try to change your way. For some people, they're going to have to die just for them to get their sins purged. All right? So that's what's going to happen to the 2/3. They got to get their sins purged, which is by death. Meaning they have to go into the second death, which is the lake of fire.
Great sacrifice.
Yep. There's more on that.
Okay. Saith the Lord God of hosts. That's it.
See that? Let's move on to the next question. So yes, they're gonna be regenerated. Are we commanded to keep all 613 laws? Yes, we commanded, but certain statutes and ordinances we can't keep. Let's go to Deuteronomy 16 and 16.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose.
Right. So that's a commandment that all thy males have to appear before the Lord thy God in the place where he shall choose. At first it was Shiloh, then it was the land of Israel. But we can't just pick up and go to Israel right now. So that's something that we can't, really keep due to our situation. Hey, the Feast of Tabernacles, you gotta, build your tabernacle with palm trees. All right, certain type of trees. Certain things we can't do because the times we living in. But we are commanded, but the grace and the mercy of Christ covers that. His precious blood. Brother said, running from my question. Brother, we answered your question. Who is the angels in Revelation 10? Right, we answered that.
Go back to the
You're not Israel, you're Ham. Smoked ham. All right, see that. High blood pressure Africans. Was Jacob a superhuman since he had 12 different people that came out of him? Right? Was he a superhuman? I mean, he was a man, Were men more stronger, had greater aura back then? Energy? I mean, yeah. All right. But he was, a mortal man. You want to go to second address? Or you got a precept?
I'm thinking about Sirach.
Yeah, Jacob was a mortal man, Was he of greater stature than, we are now? Yeah, absolutely. Right now, people they're weak. Jay can't even do 20 push-ups now. Literally. You can't do 20 push-ups. We all out of shape. Low testosterone levels.
Oh man.
All right. All hell is breaking loose. Let's go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 5. 2nd Esdras 5 and verse 52.
This is the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 5, verse 52. Say unto her, wherefore are not they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature?
Right.
And she shall answer thee, they that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion,
Right.
and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise.
So if you born, let's say a woman is 19 when she has a child. That's better than a woman that's 30 when she has a child. That woman that has that child when she's young, that child is going to be stronger versus a child that's born by a woman in her 30s. It's the same thing for the earth. The earth, if you was born earlier when the earth was in its youth, you're going to be strong. You was going to be stronger. Super fast. And you had Israelites that was outrunning roads like deers, outrunning deers, jumping over walls.
60 miles per hour.
60 miles per hour. Damn. I mean, mighty men, strong. Shield and buckler, swords, all of that. Had precise aiming. Now, you know, we messed up. We skinny. Jake skinny, sagging his pants. I trying to do something. Thinking he tough. All right. 116 pounds. Like you said, you can't even do 20 push-ups. You eating Cheetos, hot crunchy curls. You don't work out. You play video games. They all play video games now.
Early in the morning.
Video games. They eating the mic. Eating
Eat Hot Pockets all the time. It's madness, man.
Look, man. It's not the same no more. All right, we gonna just say that. So absolutely, Jacob was on a way different level than he is now, than we are now. It's like a lot of our forefathers. Waking up 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All right. So let's move on to the next question. From Reclaiming Masculinity, is practicing boxing and doing competitive boxing a sin? Absolutely not. Right?
Forefathers did.
Yeah, our forefathers, they practiced that. Let's go to that in 2 Samuel, I believe, chapter 1. Where the Lord says that not mentioned in the book of Joshua. Yeah, Israelites, they was practicing the damn bow and arrow. Teaching their children how to go to war. You know?
All right, this is the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 3. All right. That is verse 1. I wanted to David and Saul.
It's 2 Samuel for first chapter, I believe. Or it might be 1 Samuel 1-25. One of those.
Let me see.
But not 1 Samuel. 1 second. All right, so hey, in the ancient world, we was in physical shape, man. All right, teaching our children how to go to war. All right, how to fight, you know, how to handle the shield and the buckler. 2 Samuel 1 and 18.
Okay. All right, it's the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 1, verse 18. Also, he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow.
Right.
Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher.
See that? So guess what? Our forefathers, they was teaching their children the use of the bow, how to use weapons, how to physically fight. So no, that's not a sin. Let's move on to the next question. What are the scriptures? John 17 and 5, John 1 and 1, 1 Corinthians 10 and 1 through 4, Philippians 2 and 5 saying, 5 through 11 saying. So let's tackle John 7 and 5. John 17 and 5 first.
This is the book of John, chapter 17, verse 5. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was.
Because Christ was the second. Let's go to Colossians 1:15. All dominion and power was given to Christ before the world began. He had all of the preeminence. Now, when he came into the flesh, he, not saying that he lost that, but he made himself a little lower than the angels. So his power was a little bit restricted. Nevertheless, because he was in the flesh, nevertheless, he still had the spirit without measure. So let's read that.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 15. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature.
Right.
For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him.
We're going.
And he is before all things.
Right, he's before all things.
And by him all things consist.
Right.
And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence.
So Christ in all things, the Most High gave him that preeminence over all. Before he even came into the flesh. So that's what John 17 and 5 is going into. Let's go to John 1 and 1 through 3.
All right. The book of John, chapter 1 and 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And the Word was God.
Right.
The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made.
So it says in the beginning was the Word. So in the beginning, it was the Word. All right. The Word is the first creation of the Most High God. Let's go to Psalms 33 and 6. And the Word was God, meaning the Word was a power. When you look into that, and you examine the language and the words of it, all they're saying is the Word was God, meaning he was power. He was a power. That God is not talking about the Most High God. Because, how is that talking about the Most High God when he was just with God? So it says he was God and he was with God. You don't want to get confused by the Christians. So let's bring that out, Psalms 33 and 6.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 33, verse 6. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made.
Right.
And all the hosts of them by the breath of his mouth.
So by the word of the Lord where it was the heavens made, everything was made. So guess what? The Word that had power. It was God. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's what that's going into. And the beginning was the Word, which is Christ, because he's the first creation of the Most High. He was there with the Father in the beginning. He was with God in the beginning, and he was God, meaning he was a power. That's all the word God means. Let's tackle the next scripture. Break down 1 Corinthians 10, 1 through 4.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud,
Right?
and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea,
Right?
and did all eat the same spiritual meat.
So when the Israelites went through the Red Sea, that was a figure of baptism. That's why early at camp we had to break that down. Baptism is many different ways you could be baptized. Be baptized by the word, be baptized physically. All right. The Israelites was baptized when they went through the Red Sea. So that's a form of what baptism. And they all drink of the spiritual drink, right? That water that they had on the one fold that was spiritual, because Christ, the water is the word. All right. So read on.
Verse 4. And did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them.
Right.
And that rock was Hamashiach.
Right, because Christ represents all of that. Hey, Christ is the door. He's the gate. He's the water.
Light.
He's the light. He's a lamb. He's a lion. He's all of these different things. He's that manna that fell from heaven. Read on.
Verse 5. But with many of them, God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted.
Right, so that's what that's going into. Break down Philippians 2 and 5 through 11.
This is the book of Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God.
So Christ was in the form of God. He didn't think it robbery. He didn't think it robbery to be equal with God. What that's saying is Christ would never even count equality with God in the first place. Because Christ he's not equal to the Most High God. Now, when you read this, you gotta do comparative text because the old English is kind of confusing. A Christian could kind of confound you just off the old English. When you look at different translations, what this actually is saying, Christ would not even count equality with God a thing to be grasped. That's what it's going into. Read on.
But made himself of no reputation,
Right.
and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men.
So Christ took on the form of a servant. He humbled himself down, took on the form of a servant, so he could suffer in the flesh and show you how to actually move and operate in the flesh. Read on.
And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross.
Right.
Wherefore God also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name.
See that? So Christ made a sacrifice. He didn't have to do that. He took on that sacrifice to what? See what death is about. And he conquered death. So, hey, that's mighty when you think about it. A lot of people can't conquer death. A lot of people are scared to die. They want to live forever. Hey, Christ, he took on death. He faced death and he conquered it afterward. And the Most High rose him up. Read on.
Verse 10. That at the name of Yahushua, every knee shall bow. So like every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth.
That's verse 11.
Verse 11. And that every tongue should confess that Yahweh is Lord, to the glory of God the Father.
Right, that's plain. Right, every knee shall bow and confess. We have 4-1 question. Next question. What from Aaron Q-Man? What does John chapter 20 and 23 mean?
This is the book of John, chapter 20 and verse 23. Whosoever sins ye remit, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever sins ye retain, they are retained.
Right. So certain men, the Lord gave certain men power over things on the earth and in the heavens. Like Peter the apostle. Let's go to Matthew 18 and 19. All right. So certain men was actually given power on the earth. Certain men was given power to heal the sick, to do miracles. All right. Certain men the Lord gave them power after he left to them heal the sick. Somebody that was blind, guess what? Now their sight is healed. So bring that up in Matthew 18:19.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 18. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven.
Right.
And whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
You know what?
Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven.
See that? So the Lord gave Peter apostle think he could lose something in heaven, have it done on the earth. Vice versa. A certain men, let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 3. A Samuel the prophet, the Lord didn't have none of his words drop to the ground. Meaning what? Everything that Samuel the prophet said, it came to pass. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 3 and 21.
This is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 21.
19.
Verse 19. And Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and did let none of his words fall to the ground.
So the Lord didn't let none of Samuel's word fall to the ground. Meaning anything that the prophet Samuel said, it was going to come to pass. And it did come to pass. All right. So the Lord gave certain men that power. You know, that's what that's going into. Next question. What does it mean when it said from Vince 7785? What does it mean when it says angels sinning? All right. Trying to see. Okay. What does it mean when it says angels sinning? Let's go to Jude chapter 1. I believe you're talking about Jude chapter 1 and 5.
Right, this Jude. All right, verse 1. Jude, the servant of Yahweh and brother of James.
Got at verse 5.
Verse 5. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not.
Right.
And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
Now those angels that it's talking about, an angel just means messenger. But those angels that's talking about is talking about man. All right. Now man didn't keep his first estate. We fell from our first estate. And the Lord bounded us up with chains of darkness. The chains of darkness is this fleshly body. So now that we you got to look. Adam, he was at his first estate. He was living. Adam sinned against the Lord through his woman Eve. Now we reserved in his fleshly body. And now your punishment is you have to deal with this fleshly body until you get delivered out of it. So that's what that's talking about. Read on.
Verse 7. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire.
Right. So that's what that's talking about. All right, let's go to precept that, because I'm not sure exact. If you could next time just put the verse what you talking about, that'd be more helpful. But we could go to Sirach chapter 40 for a precept with that. You know, because this flesh, man, you gotta damn deal with emotions. I could be thinking something and I have my emotions take over to what I'm thinking. And I didn't even ask my emotions to take over. Now I gotta kind of fight that emotion. Hey, this flesh is off.
Curse. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 40, verse 1. Great travail is created for every man, and an heavy yoke is upon the sons of Adam.
Right.
From the day that they go out of their mother's womb till the day that they return to the mother of all things.
Right. So a yoke is a chain. That's a part of that chain of darkness. All right. It's a heavy yoke upon the sons of Adam, which is this fleshly body. Read on.
Their imaginations of things to come, and the day of death trouble their thoughts.
See, we always thinking about death. Dang, how I'm gonna die. I want to die right here. I want to die at this age. All right. I don't want to die. These things that man gets thoughts of. Read on.
And cause fear of heart from him that sitteth on a throne of glory unto him that is humbled in earth and ashes, from him that weareth purple and a crown, unto him that is clothed with a linen frock, wrath and envy, trouble and unquietness, fear of death,
Right.
and anger and strife, and in the time of rest upon his bed, his night's sleep do change his knowledge.
So you got to deal with all of that. Nightmares. Can't get proper sleep. You tossing and turning. Damn. You can't lay on your side. Lay on your side. Your damn beard gonna stop growing on the side. You got to deal with all of that, man. All right. So that's what that's going into. The next question from Andrea Talak Dukes. Why was Esther allowed to marry the Persian king, seeing he wasn't an Israelite? But they was in captivity. You know, Esther didn't really have a choice. All right. Let's go to Esther chapter 1. Let's go to Esther chapter 1 and verse number, I won't start at verse 7.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 7. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king.
Right.
And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure.
Right.
Also, Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to the king Ahasuerus. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Vesta, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to shew the people and the princess her beauty.
So, hey, the king wanted Vashti to come through, and
Right.
you know he the king at this time. He balling, he living. He seen Vashti. He said, "Hey, I want her to come through." All right, that's modern day. Jake, he in a VIP section. He balling. He got racks on him. All right. Then the music playing. They playing some damn Timberland in the club.
Smack.
Then Jake, you know, he kind of chilling with a cigar. All right. He the man on top. Kind of see a woman. So, hey, you know, kind of bring her through. So the king during this time, he see Vashti. He say, hey, tell her to come over. Read on.
Right? For she was fair to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him.
See that? She told King Ahasuerus no. And during this time, you can't tell the king no. He's the king. So what happened to Vashti? Hey, he kind of got her up out of there. She, hey, it's no new thing underneath the sun, man. She had to kind of go, man. He had to branch her off. And guess what? She regretted doing what she did. Because guess what? The king got somebody better than her, which was Esther. So they had to get Vashti up out of there, out of the whole province. It's going to tell you why jump down to verse 19.
Verse 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another, that she is better than she.
See that? So Vashti had to get up out of there. Less, if he would have kept her in that providence, it would have spread abroad. And guess what? All of the women would have started telling their husbands no. All right? It would have been a whole uproar in the kingdom. So Esther couldn't do the same thing. Or guess what? And on a deeper level, Esther was married to Xerxes just for the Israelites to be saved and delivered. So it all works out for good. The Lord said in Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for them that love God. So it was all the will of the Lord. What time is it?
8:28, 29, like about 8:30.
All right, so Lord willing, if we didn't answer any question, Lord willing, we're going to answer it, in the next video. Right, but with that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem HaMashiach, like Yahushua. Lord willing, the questions we answered them to the best of our ability. If you didn't get your question answered, right, we will be doing another live pretty soon, so you can ask it then. Right, Brother Sazama?
Brother Shema with all.
Right, with that, we're going to say Shalom.